Can you see the slides, sir?
Yeah, can see.
Our guest speaker for today is the Secretary of Teleophthalmology Society, Professor B. Nageshwar Rao Subudhi, Chairman Ruby Eye Hospitals, Barampur, ex-head of the Ophthalmology Department, MKCG Medical College, Barampur, Odisha. Worked in the MKCG Medical College, Barampur from 30th October 1984 to 31st of August 2018 as Assistant Surgeon, Lecturer, Assistant Professor, and Professor and Head of the Ophthalmology Department. He has more than 36 years of experience in teaching undergraduates, postgraduates, nursing students, and ophthalmic assistants. Published many scientific papers in various national and international journals. Presented scientific papers in international conferences held world over. Social activities: performed more than 400 eye transplantation at MKCH Medical College and has done a lot of community work in rural South Odisha. As an active worker in community ophthalmology, worked for the prevention of diabetic blindness in rural and hilly areas in the state of Odisha. Barampur Public E-Library was established in 2018 as the President and Managing Committee member. E-Library has organized various health-related programs in the E-Library. Past President of ECON and Odisha State Ophthalmic Society, Chairman, Steering Committee member of ECON, Secretary IMA PDB, Secretary of TOSI, and member ASTR Task Force. His main goal is prevention of diabetic blindness. His teachers are Professor Akira Momoso, Professor P.N. Nagpal, Professor Chitra Kare, and Professor C.K. Mohapatra. Best moments with Madam and Professor Federer. A warm welcome to you, sir, to deliver your lecture.
Thank you, madam. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, visible.
Am I audible?
Yeah,
Yes,
you are audible.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sheila, madam, to introducing me to this webinar today. I welcome you all today's our program and refresher training for ophthalmologists and diagnosis and management of diabetic retinopathy. It's I think since last is a fortnightly program. Every Wednesday from 7 to 8, we are organizing programs to train or rather refresh our doctors all over the country. So today's topic is diagnostics with diabetic retinopathy. It is the fourth in the series. Already 3 sessions are over, and today is the fourth session. It is my chance to speak on some of the diagnosis methods in diabetic retinopathy. No financial disclosure, and I thank, on behalf of the TOSI team, I thank Eco India for providing this platform to connect ophthalmologists across the country. So before we start the direct lecture, I would like to present a case. My patient, a 37-year-old man residing at my town, Barampur, occupation as a lift operator in the medical college. Clinical presentation, he presented initially to a diabetologist with complaints of relief of head, headache, shaking of hands, and blurred vision for a few days, 7 months back. And an examination was found to be diabetic. And blood sugar measured that day, that is November 2020, its fasting blood sugar 232 and post-mortem sugar 291 and blood pressure is 100/70. He started with the medication metformin 500 mg BD, glimepiride 2 once, metoprolol 51 and amlodipine 1. So this treatment for after 1 month, his blood pressure raised to 150/90 and fasting blood sugar 78 and postprandial blood sugar 90. And on a monthly checkup on 5th February, its blood sugar again remained a little bit higher side 133, but postprandial blood sugar 143, BP is little bit higher side 146/110. Again, after 2 months, he visited the same diabetologist. His blood pressure little bit higher side in spite of all the drugs, and blood sugar is well maintained. In May and June, he did not report to the diabetologist because of the corona months. In July, he came to us with a progressive loss of vision in a span of 15 days only. His visual acuity on examination, right eye contributed 3 meters, left eye 6/12, and intraocular pressure 18 and 20. Intersegment is normal. His fasting blood sugar 106 and postprandial blood sugar is 204 and blood pressure 130/80. And we did a posterior segment examination, fundus examination. We saw that right eye showed high risk PDR with vitreous hemorrhage and retinal hemorrhage also, and left eye high risk PDR. So that means high risk PDR both eyes with a vitreous hemorrhage in the right eye. And OCT, we saw that in the right eye there is a vitreomacular traction, and of course left eye OCT was normal. So with this, we planned the management. How do we proceed the management? So before we discuss the management of this patient, I like to say or enumerate the methods of diagnosis of diabetic retinopathy in general. So these are the 9 methods of diagnosing diabetic retinopathy. One, the first is taking, second, the visual acuity, third, the intersegment evaluation by slit lamp, fourth, fundus examination both by direct and indirect ophthalmoscopy, fifth is fundus fluorescein angiography, sixth is OCT, and seventh OCTA. Next is ultrasonogram, and of course last the multifocal ERG. So these are the 9 methods of investigation in a diabetic clinical workup. History taking, already it has been discussed in our first session. You must take the duration of diabetes mellitus is very important. The more the diabetic age, the more the complications we develop. Medications, what medications is taking now presently, is it a insulin alone, or the combination of insulin with oral hypoglycemic drugs or oral hypoglycemic drugs only. Along with that, whether it's taking anti-hypertensive drugs and lipid lowering drugs, usually these two are associated with the diabetes. So we have to take detail all about these drugs and how they are behaving, the drugs in his body, whether the blood sugar and blood pressure is controlled or not. And change in medications in the recent past, systemic history, whether he has got any renal disease, cardiovascular problems, a systemic hypertension, high serum lipid levels, and pregnancy. So these are the things is to be inquired from the patient, whether he has visited any physician or a gynecologist in the recent past. And in general, I'm describing general. Any recent treatment, whether to the eye, whether the lasers has been done, how many sittings he had, and how many intravitreal injections been given, which eye, how many injections he received, and what the plan of surgical treatment for this patient. So compliance treatment also has to be inquired, whether the patient is happy with the treatment or patient is frequently visiting the diabetologist for the change of treatment. So that's a very important history. We have to meticulously take the history, and after that we have to examine the visual acuity. Recording of the visual acuity with or without pinhole is a must, but visual acuity remains unchanged in many cases unless the macula is involved. So whenever there is a macula is involved, there will definitely there is a reduced visual acuity. But sometimes in early stage of macular edema and macular ischemia, we don't get any vision disturbances. So many times the patient reports to the ophthalmologist with diabetic macular edema leading to visual acuity loss. Determination of visual acuity alone does not give any reliable measure of the stage of development of diabetic retinopathy. The changes are usually found outside the macula. Sometimes, diabetic retinopathy starts in the peripheral part of the retina. So as the retinopathy is in the peripheral part of the retina, visual acuity is not involved and visual acuity is not affected. If you can see this patient having advanced PDR, but still his vision was retained since until last 15 days of reporting us. So sometimes you get advanced retinopathy in the periphery, but visual acuity is retained when macula is not involved. So next is we have to examine detail about the anterior segment, particularly cornea and the lens. So any infections in and around the eyeball is very important. Stys, collagen is very commonly associated with diabetic patients. Evaluation of dry eye, it has been seen that many patients suffer diabetic patients, they suffer from the dry eye. So it would be a minimum test, Sirmet test and TBAT test routine in all the cases of diabetic retinopathy patients. Corneal surface irregularities, a specular microscopy, if it is available with you, we have to do because it has been seen that. So one of the major complications of diabetic eye is the diabetic retinopathy. However, corneal diseases can not only develop in diabetic patients, but also difficult to manage. Diabetic neurotrophic keratopathy is a component of diabetic polyneuropathy seen in diabetic patients. And sometimes you have to examine the endothelium because endothelial dysfunction is very common and sometimes it influences the management of the prognosis of diabetic retinopathy while you're treating with a laser or intravitreal injections. So endothelium count or endothelium quality has to be seen by specular microscopy. So now after finishing the anterior segment, of course you should examine the lens also whether the patient is having cataract or not. In elderly patients, some amount of nuclear sclerosis diagnosis, treatment of different presentations. And important imaging modalities that are used in diabetic retinopathy are color fundus photography, fluorescein angiography, B-scan ultrasonography, and optical coherence tomography. So what do we see in the microaneurysm, dot and blot hemorrhages, rectangular fibrillary hemorrhages, hard edgelets, cotton spots, venous dilatation, intravascular, microvascular abnormalities, neovasculars, and proliferation. Starting from the microaneurysms to the proliferations in new vessels are seen in the different stages of diabetic retinopathy. As you know, ETDR's classification divide the diabetic retinopathy NPDR and PDR. NPDR again divided to very mild NPDR, moderate NPDR, severe NPDR, and very severe NPDR. If you see only microaneurysms, we can classify it as the very mild NPDR. But when the microaneurysms associated with limited to one quadrant only, we say the mild NPDR. But if they increase into 1 to 3 quadrants, we say that moderate NPDR. But when all the quadrants are involved, we say that severe NPDR, and severe NPDR follows the rule that's called 4-2-1 rule. Please remember, 4-2-1 rule says that the patient is the severe NPDR. What is this 4? Hemorrhages in all the 4 quadrants, venous bleeding in 2 quadrants, 2 or more quadrants, and irma in 1 or more quadrants. And if you see 2 or more of these changes, which is very severe. So these are the first diagram showing a small hemorrhage and microaneurysm, and this is the early stage of the mild NPDR. Now it is going toward the moderate NPDR. Hemorrhages and exudates limited to almost 1 to 3 quadrants. You can see almost all the 4 quadrants are affected here, and you can see some irma also here. So these are the severe to very severe NPDR. the PDR. When a new vessel starts, we say that the PDR is started. So new vessels are fibrous. We call it a moderate PDR, mild to moderate PDR, and PDR at high risk, so that NBD, new vasculature on the disc more than 1/3 the disc diameter of the disc, less extensive NBD with hemorrhages, vitreous or the preretinal, or NBE, new vessels elsewhere more than or less equal to half disc diameter with vitreous or preretinal, we call that a PDR at high risk. When advanced PDR, the extensive vitreous hemorrhages and there is a tractional retinal detachment. So this is easy classification. We can see the fundus stages, classify them. Fundus examination, as I said, direct ophthalmoscope usually done, but indirect ophthalmoscope is a must to see the period. Utilize slit lamp with a 90D lens. And of course, for the screening, we have to use this. So many portable cameras are available. We can take this camera to the rural areas or the camps, and we can screen the diabetes patients. Advanced retinal imaging techniques are that's called ultra-wide field fundus imaging. Ultra-wide field fundus imaging technology is the ability to give a wider picture of the retina in a single sitting, single photograph rather. By combining an ellipsoid mirror with a scanning laser ophthalmoscope, it has got advantage that identifies the diabetic retinopathy by 17% more. However, this instrument is very expensive. This is the wider picture. This one picture you get all the wide field of retina. But however, with the standard camera also, we can collage all the 7 pictures and you can get a wider picture. So next examination, fundus fluorescein angiography. Fluorescein angiography is an invaluable adjunct to the diagnosis typical vasculature of the retina. It depicts the vasculature of the retina after injecting the dye. It not only helpful for the diagnosis of the disease, but also most helpful for the documentation of the retinopathy, as well as counseling to the patient and demonstrating to them what the disease looks like, and sometimes for the follow-up of the patient also. So FFA is one of the most important and useful adjunct in the diagnosis of the diabetic retinopathy. So in this article, it has been seen that the detection rate of diabetic retinopathy using FFA is higher, accurately determine the clinical stage also. Therefore, it is an important approach in the treatment efficacy. The evaluation and treatment guidance suggests significant application value. FFA is a crucial but often misused investigation. It has been seen that most of the times it has got a some of the complications. Of course, compared to the complications, sometimes we misuse this investigation, we land in trouble. So ETID study recommend FFA only for guiding the diabetes. So what are the indications for FFA? Featureless retina, fellow eye of high risk or severe PDR. One eye is showing high risk PDR and other eye whether the diabetes chains are there or not, we can know by FFA. Macular ischemia, asteroid hyalosis, suspected severe NPDR, PDR, then papillopathy, diabetic papillopathy or non-arthritic entry ischemic optic neuropathy. These are the indications where FFA is indicated. Featureless retina. If you see the left side of the picture, you see almost you say that the fundus picture doesn't look that much severe. But if you do a fluorescein angiography, you will see all the changes. You will see enlarged foveal contour. Then there are a lot of non-perfused areas, microaneurysms, leaks. All these things are not visible here in the clinical photograph. So FFA plays a major role in this condition. Macular ischemia. So clinically suspected by low vision, sclerosed macular arteries can be seen, but soft edge and blot emerges in the macula. FHR is more than 1,000 macula. They are all seen FFA only, but clinically sometimes you don't see all these things, except of course OCT may give some guideline for that retinopathy, that maculopathy. Asteroid because of asteroid the fundus picture is obscured. If you do a fluorescein angiography, you can see all these signs. You can see all these signs with FFA. Sometimes it may look normal, but if you see, if they do a fluorescein angiography, you see the leaks and then the disc. So these are the conditions where we have to do fundus fluorescein angiography, which is a must. Then the OCT. OCT is an important tool and of immense value the diagnosis of diabetic retinopathy, particularly macular edema and CSME. This has been already dealt in our first session, where Dr. Rajiv Raman described the OCT and maculopathy, macular edema. So optical coherence tomography, it uses laser interferometry to make in vivo cut sections. It gives a cross section of the macular area. It primarily analyzes macular edema, decides whether to perform. Also, it decides the treatment also, whether you will go for lasers, whether you will go vitrectomy or intravitreal injections. So OCT plays major role in the diagnosis of So we see the microaneurysms, we see the enlarged foveal avascular zone, non-perfusion edema, abnormal vascular. So all these signs can be visible in OCTA, which is comparable to. This is a picture. You can see there are superficial capillary plexus, and microaneurysms. So you can see all these things in the OCTA. And if similarly in the similar patient, if you do a fundus fluorescein angiography, you can see all these signs. But if you compare OCTA and fundus fluorescein angiography is invasive technique, and it has got some risks and side effects. So OCTA scores over this technique approved fundus fluorescein angiography. However, OCTA suffers from artifacts related to the image acquisition technique and post-processing of NPS images. It is a small field of view, poor image quality, and projection artifact, and sometimes inaccuracy in analysis of deeper vascular layers. However, epigastric ischemia, neovascular retina are better identified with fluorescein angiography compared to OCTA. However, I would say that OCTA scores over the FFA because of its non-invasive technique. But however, again, OCTA machine is a little bit expensive compared to the angiogram. Last but not the least, the ultrasonogram. Ultrasonogram plays a major role in particularly hazy media because our patients are mostly elderly patients, and they have some sort of cataracts, grade to grade 3 cataracts. In the grade to grade 3 cataracts, sometimes it's very difficult to identify vitreous hemorrhage or tractional detachments. And ophthalmic beam mode ultrasound is rapid, non-invasive. It's a very rapid technique that can be used with minimum discomfort to the patient in ophthalmic practice for detection and evaluation of DR complications that predict the visual outcome. It's most useful in patients with vitreous hemorrhage and other media opacity, where the retina cannot be evaluated properly by ophthalmoscopy or other methods of examination. So you can see the tractional bands and hemorrhages also. Last, the ERG. Electroretinography is an objective method of evaluating retinal function. It has become a useful and routine diagnostic tool, clinical tool in ophthalmology. If you go through this article by R.T. Jaclob et al. In Survey of Ophthalmology, they reviewed the article, and in this review article they summarize that the role of ERG is a clinical technique for evaluating the progression of the diabetic retinopathy and a research tool for increasing our understanding of the pathology of diabetic retinopathy. And also ERG tests detect the local abnormalities or widespread pathology even the very early stage of disease. So many times if the retina is not showing any pathology, we don't see any clinical picture, ERG gives some indication that the patient is going to develop diabetic retinopathy sooner. So it seems plausible that measurements from the ERG recordings, particularly the oscillatory potentials, may be useful for predicting the progression from the non-proliferative to the more sight-threatening stages, that is proliferative stages. So there are two things you can see that we can know from ERG study, early signs of diabetic retinopathy before the clinical signs develop, and also you can know that the conversion of non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy to proliferative diabetic retinopathy. But however, ERG can also use for diagnostic method for discriminating between the eyes with diabetic retinopathy and those without the condition. Although role of electrophysiology, that is electroretinogram in the early diagnosis and follow-up diabetic retinopathy, whatever that article I described, same thing is repeated here with some technical limitations and quite high cost. It's a costly machine, ERG, and the study of oscillating potentials and particular MFERG in particular definitely proved to be a valuable and objective tool for the early diagnosis of disease. However, the most important thing that the greatest and most regrettable limitation of this diagnostic technique is represented by the still low intakes. Till now, the ERG has not become very popular. It is not available in almost all the centers. In future, we may expect that ERG should be available in almost all the centers doing some retina work. And the latest in this ERG, the multifocal electroretinogram, that's MFERG, new technology. The MFERG provides a detailed assessment of the health of central retinal macula. It's a newer modality and helped with the subclinical cases, as I told you, and 50 individual points are assessed in this technique. So in conclude, in this article, they've said that MFERG reflects retinal dysfunction irrespective of the occurrence of DME in patient NPDR. Correlation with the best corrected visual acuity reinforced that multifocal ERG should be used to objectively assess the macular function in diabetic retinopathy patients. However, its clinical value is yet to be assessed and it is not a popular technique till now. So to conclude my talk, methods and diagnostic tools to diagnose DER are advancing at a rapid rate. Artificial intelligence is also making a road into the diagnosis of acumen approved diabetic retinopathy. It is hoped that novel emerging techniques along with the multimodal grading approaches for DER detection will lead to better understanding and management of diabetic retinopathy. So these are the different diagnostic techniques I described. So in any case of diabetic retinopathy, when you get them, so you have to go through any of these clinical diagnostic acumen available to you. So coming back to our first case. So as I told you, this is a 37-year-old man, very young man, working in the medical college. Complaint of reeling of head, headaches, shaking of hands, blood with 7 months back, and diagnosed to be diabetic under regular treatment till April, May. And of course, he was continuing the medication in May, June, but he has been not followed. But in July, just before 15 days, he developed progressive diminution of vision. His visual acuity in one eye is counting at 3 meters and other eye 6/12. Already blood sugar is well controlled. So what happened? Why this patient, after 6 months of diabetes only, developed high risk PDR in both eyes? So that revolves, or rather decides our treatment of this patient, because this patient has to live at least another 40 to 50 years. How best we can treat this patient so that we can give him a good vision, because still he has got a lot of service to undergo. So he's only 37 years, another 30 to 40 years, and 30 years he's got service remaining with him. So it's a dilemma. And I would like our panelists to discuss this case, how to proceed for this patient treatment. So may I request Dr. Rajiv Raman to throw some light? Dr. Rajiv, are you there? So Professor Natarajan, our President Tosi, to throw some light in this case and his opinion about this presentation.
Subudhi, give me 5 minutes. In the meantime, Dr. Sheila can.
Okay. In the meantime, I will ask Dr. Sheila to proceed with the
Sir, I think any real surgeons are there. I'm only a general ophthalmologist, so I don't want if it's okay.
No, no, at least-
Diagnosis of diabetic retinopathy is fine. And when it comes to vitreous hemorrhage and all that, I want to discuss.
So how to manage it? Yeah.
Many people are there, we are surgeons. The diagnostics of diabetic retinopathy was an excellent presentation, sir. And how we go about diagnosing the slit lamp as well as indirect and direct and lens, everything is explained well. I'm sure it will be very useful for the postgraduates. And basic features also, classification and features also you explain.
Yes. So, and this patient, this because it is, we get a lot of patients similar in nature. Many times the patient, asymptomatic patient come to us with a vitreous hemorrhage or severe NPDR in one eye and PDR in the other eye. It's very commonly we see. In spite of taking regular treatment from the diabetologists, this patient was diagnosed diabetes only 6 months back only, because he has got some symptoms for which he went to the. So it seems that probably he has asymptomatic diabetes at least for more than 1 year or sometimes 2 years, probably. But he never had any symptoms or signs of diabetes in the past before 6 months or 7 months before he reported to the diabetologist. So we did we gave intravitreal aesthetics in the right eye, and of course we did the lasers in the left eye. And after 2 weeks, he came to us, little bit improvement in the vision in the right eye, and we did laser in the right eye again. So this will continue for some time. We do complete the laser in almost all the peripheral quadrants of the retina, so we can stabilize this PDR. At least he can have some vision, and we have to follow the patient regularly. This is my method of thinking for the management. So probably Dr. Natarajan will speak. Dr. Rajvinder, would you like to say something in this? Dr. Rajvinder, are you there? Yeah. Good evening. Please, please throw some light on this case. Good evening.
So you have rightly said, in the one eye with the vitreous hemorrhage, giving intravitreal would do better in reducing the vitreous hemorrhage. And in the other eye, we can start the panretinal photocoagulation. And by the meantime, the vitreous hemorrhage clears and we have more idea regarding the clarity of the fundus, we can complete the laser in the other eye. And if the vitreous hemorrhage persists for more than 3 months, and if it usually resolves, and let us complete all the 360 degree of the fundus, then it's all okay. And if there is we have to be follow up the fundus with the OCT scans for any further changes. And along with that, systemic control is very important. Along with that,
in the right eye, the OCT shows some amount of vitreoretinal action. So by giving injections or any other method of model treatment, can we induce more about the vitreoretinal traction and leading to traction and detachment?
So can I see the OCT scan again?
Yeah. You see the right eye. This is some amount of pull is here.
Okay.
We have
so in the right eye,
we have given already one injection is given.
So, sir, on the if the vitrectomy is to be planned, it should be within 3 to 5 days. But this is not the center of the macula, I think, in the right eye.
It looks like this. Yeah.
It doesn't look like that it is center of the macula, because that is very important. If it is threatening the macula, then it would be a danger giving injection.
Yes.
So I think this is not the center of the macula. This
Probably
scan.
this once this probably macula is here. Looks like.
If there is a direct vitreomacular traction, then it would be a greater idea. Within 3 to 5 days, the vitrectomy can be done. Dr. Natarajan can
Yeah, he can throw
throw
some
more
light.
light on.
Dr. Aditi, would you like to say something? Dr. Aditi Parasar. Dr. Aditi.
Actually, it looks like the vitreous hemorrhage is not extensive. The scan is so good.
Acha.
Right
Okay.
eye, there is an element of BMT, which I think might worsen after we give injection in this patient.
Okay.
So the patient needs a good follow-up along with the OCT scans. If there is any worsening of traction, because looks like from the macula itself, there is some tenting over there. So this might worsen and it might need a repeat scan. If it worsens, then it has to be taken up for surgery.
Yes.
Very right, ma'am.
So, what we are worried is the patient is only young man. He's 37 years only.
That is the only thing. Now, that is the only thing. Patients who are young and who are diabetics and who have a picture like this, they are going to worsen more, and vitrectomy itself in such patients is very, very challenging, because the additions with the vitreous are very, very strong, and even the hyaloid is very taut. So
Yes.
it's not a very simple case even for vitrectomy also.
Induction of PVD would be difficult in
Very, very
these.
difficult. Yes. So not a very simple case to manage if it worsens.
I think we'll get wait Dr. Natarajan to give his opinion. Dr. Natarajan, sir, are you there? I are waiting. Dr. Anupriya, would you like to say something? Dr. Anupriya?
The presentation was very good, sir. You have touched many points starting from the history, starting from the interior examination.
Okay.
Means each and everything has been covered today. But it was very informative for postgraduates also.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah. Yes, please share your views.
So being a fresher in ophthalmology, it was very, thank you so much, sir. It was very nice presentation. It was very informative to see the full workup, what should be done if any patient is recently or diagnosed with diabetes, if on regular treatment with regular follow-up with diabetologist. But his eye workup should be done every 3 monthly, and if there are changes, it should be done more aggressively.
Yes. So one thing I would like to say that dilated fundoscopy is more important than undilated pupil examination. So all the diabetic patients must be examined fully dilated. Dr.
It was
Tarun?
excellent talk, sir. very, very true. We must do a dilated fundus examination only, because visual acuity is not the indicator for severity of diabetes.
Yes.
So we should spread this message that even if the patients are sick, that doesn't mean that they cannot have diabetic retinopathy. That was really wonderful.
So next time, if there is a case presentation, can some postgraduate can present the case?
Anupriya, would you like to present a case next time?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. I would
Yeah.
love to present
Yeah.
the case.
Next time, next program is about systemic management of diabetic retinopathy by Dr. Rajalakshmi.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
So you present a case, whatever you are here. So you present a case, then we will discuss.
Okay,
And
sir.
we are waiting for Dr. Natarajan to say. Anybody else? Dr. Jagdish, would you like to say something?
Yes, sir. It is a very good and knowledgeable session. So in between, my internet and network problem is there, sir. So I couldn't attend in between. So it is very good, and thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. What to do? Dr. Natarajan, do it.
So after Avastin, you have seen this patient after giving Avastin?
Yeah, okay, yeah. He's better.
And its traction is not increased on OCT yet.
I don't have that report. It's a OCT report. After he came once. Recently came. I don't have that report. I have to get the reports.
Normally, if vitrectomy is to plan, so normally what is the protocol followed that after giving the Avastin, within 3 to 7 days, the vitrectomy should be done.
Okay. So if the traction is more, we'll go for vitrectomy, or if the hemorrhage is not resolved, we'll go for vitrectomy.
Sir, if the hemorrhage is more and such in this case, the hemorrhage is not more. And we have to follow up with the OCT scans. If it is clear from the OCT that traction has increased, or sometimes we directly plan if there is vitreous hemorrhage, dense vitreous hemorrhage, and we are not getting the scans of the OCT on the OCT scans, then it is usually planned that we give the intravitreal Avastin, and after 3 to 4 days, the vitrectomy is planned. The giving intravitreal injection 3 to 4 days before, there is lesser chances for intraoperative bleeding.
Yes.
And we have better visual outcome when we give intravitreal Avastin 3 to 4 days before the planned vitrectomy.
Exactly. So because of the vitreous hemorrhage, probably our OCT was not showing the macular area. And that's yeah. Dr. Natarajan, are you there? Let me call him. We're waiting for him to. I'm not getting him over phone. I'll wait for 5 minutes. Anybody else wants to speak something? Dr. Tarun, are you there? Dr. Vishwanath, are you there? Dr. Neha? Dr. Neha? Dr. Kapil?
Sir, recordings of the case, they have not come in the groups, no, sir? Recordings.
Ma'am, we will share soon. I mean, we'll share by this week or maybe next week. We'll share all the recordings. The
Already,
program.
I think we, yes. Shwetaji, last recording was, I think, said.
No, sir, there was some technical issue, so we couldn't share, but we will share all together. We have the recordings, so no need to worry. Everyone will get the recording.
We're not able to get Dr. Natarajan. I'm not getting.
Hello. No, no,
Yes.
sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, we are waiting for you only
I know.
because we have finished our stock. Now your comments.
Good evening, sir.
Good
So,
evening.
I think, did you see that my case presentation or shall I repeat again?
Just show me the OCT only. Yeah.
Because, yeah, your opinion and your management, I mean,
Yes.
required. So just as to say briefly, the 37-year-old man
Right.
reported first a diabetologist with a complaint reeling of head, headache, shaking of hands, and his blood sugar is 232, 291,
Okay.
and continued his medication for 6 months. His diabetes is well controlled now. Then he suddenly came to us after 6 months with a progressive loss of vision, 15 days duration only.
Right.
His visual acuity, right eye counting 3 meters, left eye 6 feet tall,
Right.
with a well-controlled diabetes.
Right.
And this is his fundus picture.
Right.
You can see the macula is covered with the vitreous hemorrhage.
Right.
So this is the OCT picture,
Right.
right eye, and this is left eye.
Okay. Should you do an angiogram?
No, we're not done angiogram.
Okay. So, and then I think he has a proliferative diabetic retinopathy both eye.
Yeah.
So initially, I will do pan-retinal photocoagulation, followed by a week later right eye anti-VEGF injection, and see how it is improving. In case the hemorrhage clears in 2 weeks, I think nothing to be done. Otherwise, then proceed with the vitrectomy.
Okay, so this OCT picture will not affect it because there is already vitrectomy traction there. So we have to go for the
Not still pulling. So because I
Yeah.
think, maybe because of the submacular hemorrhage. What did you do?
we did first, we gave one injection into the right eye, eccentric injection was given in the right eye,
Okay.
followed by laser in the left eye.
Okay.
So we called in 15 days. After 15 days, some of the resolution of the vitreous hemorrhage. So
Okay.
whatever the areas seen here, we could do some laser here also. We did some
Okay.
laser.
Right.
And now the patient, we called him again after 15 days.
Okay. So I think if the hemorrhage doesn't clear, we should do a vitrectomy.
Okay. Achha.
Vitrectomy and laser.
Because he's a young man of 37 years, still has a lot of service.
Correct. Correct. But vitrectomy is not a problem. I think I have operated like this both eye vitrectomy.
this eye is showing somewhat a little bit traction here.
Right. I know, I can see that.
So what to do that? This will leave it like this?
No, but the vision is 612. You can do a PRP and
Yeah.
follow closely. And in case anything relates to foveal region, then only we should intervene, not otherwise.
Very true.
This region is fine.
So usually the vitreous hemorrhage settles inferiorly and it stays there. If with the vision is okay, then we should not do anything, no?
Yeah, if the macula, the rest of the retina is okay, inferior vitreous hemorrhage, don't need to do anything.
And sometimes we are not able to do the laser inferiorly, and it stays, it fibrosed, and it has the resolved vitreous hemorrhage. Even then, vitrectomy should be done.
No, because when the vision is good, and then if there is no recurrent hemorrhage, I think you can wait. If there is recurrent hemorrhage, then we have to operate. Because then there can be a vitreous traction on the neovascularization elsewhere.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
So if the disc macula is all right, usually I don't. The patient, in case he develops some other problem because of the diabetic retinopathy, prolonged diabetes, they will blame you for any problem. So I always tell diabetic vitrectomy, I said I'm not afraid of doing, but I said it's like touching a fire. So you can get burnt. So patient also should know. Because 90% of these eyes will be all right, but 10% of them can progress from bad to worse.
Yes, sir.
Either because of their own renal problem or irregular diabetes control or something happens to them systemically, and that can aggravate the retinopathy. It doesn't happen in everybody. So I always tell them about the neovascular glaucoma, posterior hyaloid proliferation. So that's why good laser photoregulation is important.
Yes, sir.
If that is done, I think many complications can be avoided. Definitely, if the vision is affected, vitrectomy is the answer, because that's the best. In 70s, they were waiting for 1 year. Now we don't even wait for 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
PVD, you can high cutting vitrectomy machines, 10,000 cuts, and 25 gauge, 27 gauge. No.
So, but why this patient of only 6 months diabetic developed PDR in both eyes, high risk PDR?
The 6 month diabetes is a false history. He is not diagnosed, it should be 5 years.
Yes.
See,
But
that's the problem. And that is why he will have a metabolic memory problem where metabolic memory is punishing him.
Okay.
See, that is why we are doing a study, and I think my diabetologist did and published it called a Diamond study, where he found out 65% of the diabetic people do not know that eye can be affected.
Yes.
And they are not aware at all. And then the rest of the another 20% doesn't even know, okay, they are aware diabetic retinopathy can come, but they don't know that they may go blind. They don't know. That is why I made a statement which we are trying to popularize as a president of AOS. Are you a diabetic? Do you know you may go blind?
Yes.
And Sheila made an excellent poster and Shankar and we posted all over India. Even All India Institute of Atul Kumar posted it. But I mean, the problem is you have to constantly remind, it has to constantly come in the TV. So are you a diabetic? Do you know you may go blind? Ask your eye doctor.
Yes, sir.
6 months is a false, because no neovascularization, it takes 5 years. But patient will deny.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
There's no blood test to find out or a gene test to find out how many years diabetes they have.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Many
When
of
you
the
ask-
cancer patients also will be like that. Their proliferative diabetic retinopathy will be there in one eye, and the patient will not give a history of diabetes. Other eye, there will be background.
Correct. You know, that is why I want to screen using our teleophthalmic society. Above 30, particularly parents like this fellow's children, when they become 30, they should have the retina checkup every year, including diabetes checkup. And diabetes should be fasting sugar, PP sugar, and HbA1c every year. For example, 5 years they are normal, 6th year they develop a sugar high, then you can call them a 1 year diabetic or 6 months diabetic. So we are actually doing that free for diabetic Dharavi patient. So many Dharavi patients are detected early now. But paying patients, they come like this, loss of vision. That is what I'm not able to impress the ministers, or they think some people are having diabetes problem. And there's a World Diabetes Day also. We are planning to do a big awareness with Dr. Tara Prasad Das and IGO, where we are making an issue. Tara Prasad Das and Shobha Prasad have given me a homework that all the speakers, we should have a session. And I think we should do a grand thing on World Diabetes Day.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So I usually hold a camp for diabetes screening camp.
Not only screening, everybody should be aware. Entire India should be aware that whether
Yes.
it's or not, above 30, check for diabetes. And do you know that diabetes can produce blindness?
Yes, sir.
In a way, you are scaring the people, better to scare them, no?
Yes, sir. Yes.
If he comes to the eye doctor and he gets the eye checked, normal. What is the problem? But like this, 6 months later, he comes with one eye vision is gone. He's a lift operator. He's the breadwinner of the family. Imagine the other eye develops hemorrhage. He'll be blind. Temporary.
Same thing happened to this patient. You know, he's a breadwinner of his family.
Correct.
He's only 37-year-old.
That's what I'm saying. It's a problem.
Yeah.
And they don't understand, and nobody's understanding the health economics. I am telling
Exactly.
30, you find out, you take a cheap pill every day, oral anti-diabetic, eat good food, do exercise, then okay, you live longer. You don't have to be a patient of Subhadhyar Natarajan. That's what when I tell them, they don't understand. They think we are modest. We are not. I am telling them, in spite of that, because of genetics, 10% of the people will have a severe problem where we have to operate, laser, injections, all that we have to do. But 90% I think can be safe, no? So 7.7 crore people, 4 crore if they are saved, they don't know they have diabetes. If they are saved, 6 crore people are saved from no vision problem, they don't have to spend money. And economy of India will go up. Their loss of work is not there. So because of that, productivity goes up. That
Yes.
GDP goes up, which I think nobody is calculating. No health minister, whether finance minister, they are not thinking. Just using an ordinary oral anti-diabetic drug, exercise, and diet. So if you teach them from 30, most of them need not go to the doctor. So much of crores are being spent on dialysis. So many people are getting heart attack and stroke, and they are blaming blood pressure, and they are all diabetic, and it's a silent.
Yes.
And I think a physician, general practitioner, everybody should talk about it. It looks like only eye doctors are talking, and that also only the Teleophthalmic Society people are talking. Rest of the ophthalmologists in AOS.
Why they don't talk actually? They hold the cataract surgery camps, but they don't hold the diabetic screening camps.
No, that is because they don't know that there is enough revenue you can get from that. They don't know. Cataract, they think revenue. They don't.
Yes.
In a diabetic patient, if you see, like last week we did a diabetic camp in Sinnar near Nashik. 197 patient we screened. 20 patients came for cataract actually. Rest of the people, I think 47 or something had diabetes, and severe problem were only 1 or 2. So at 47 we made them aware. The municipal hospital was there, Taluk headquarters was there. What is it? Zilla Parishad president was there. So I told them, rural medical hospital was there. I told them, why not you buy a retina camera and keep daily do photograph? We will train you.
So can we hold the camps now?
We are doing.
Yes.
I think you can follow the state guideline. There is
state
subject. You have to follow.
We can.
We are also doing. We are also doing camps. Government has given permission.
We don't give.
But in Punjab, I think the permission has not been given yet to hold them.
Maybe.
But if you keep below 50, it's all right, I think. No number at a time.
Okay, sir.
Small camps, 20-30 people.
You are following the COVID protocol.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We do crowding at a time and no. And then
actually, I wanted to hold the only by giving the name diabetic screening camps.
You can also give appointment.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can give appointment. Tell them first come, first served. 9 to 10, 10 people, 10 to 11, 10 people, like that. You can give 50 people for 5 hours. And automatically, even at a time, anybody comes for inspection also, you'll not have crowd.
No,
Yes.
I don't think people check it.
No, even if they check it,
Yeah,
sometimes, anyhow, I see, even when I finished the camp, Nasik Medical College Dean asked me, did you get permission? Permission. But the best part was the district medical officer, government rural medical officer, everybody was there. And
Yes, sir. Yes.
what is it? Jilla Parishad president, all were there. And the Nasik Ophthalmic Association president and the Lions Club. So that means, according to me, I'll tell them, I thought they have taken permission and I've come. Then I went like dressed like Gandhiji, so nobody questioned me. I was like a Neta.
We also at Shankar Nethralaya followed that only, sir. 5 patients in the examination room.
Like,
Once they finish, another 5 patients.
I thought you are following Netaji.
No.
I wore the Gandhi cap.
Yeah.
You saw the picture?
Yeah, I saw the
Yes,
photo.
yes. Yeah. Yes, sir. Okay, we'll close then. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Sheila madam, yours now again. You are the close. Thanks.
Madam, whenever Dr. Rajvinder, you have any meeting, tell me. I'm going to Greece on 28 for a veterinary training.
Okay, sir.
So whenever you have meeting, I'm ready to come for a physical meeting. Nasik, I'm doing a meeting on this September 19. I have started physical meetings now.
Sir, you can come this side. Physical meeting.
Yeah. You organize a meeting, I'll come.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So which month I should try to invite you?
Whichever. September, October.
September.
Yeah.
September. Okay, sir. I'll try.
Even November, I like the cold in north.
Yes, sir. November, December, January is cold.
I came in November, December only to Jalandhar and Ludhiana.
Okay, sir. So I am here at Bathinda.
Bathinda, I wanted to go. I never
Yeah.
I
Yes.
never gone to Bathinda.
Okay, sir. So I'll arrange and then I'll let you know. Sir,
Yeah.
but you don't read your WhatsApp messages.
Pardon?
You don't read your WhatsApp messages.
No, I don't know what happened. I read because by the time I open, there's about 1,000 messages. That's the biggest problem I'm facing.
You reply on Facebook and Yahoo, but you don't reply on WhatsApp.
No, but last message I only written more.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm writing hello to you again.
Okay, sir.
I've written.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
I like to communicate, but sometimes I think the problem by the time I open, so many messages are there.
Yeah.
Unless I trace the message, it's a problem.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Subudhi. Thank you, Dr.
Yeah, Sheila madam, so few words. Yes.
Thank you so much for the excellent lecture, sir. I am sure a lot of postgraduates should have benefited from it. And also from Dr. Natarajan's inputs also, which he gave regarding the case. I think it was a good discussion, sir.
Yeah. So
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
sir. Thank you.
yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you all the spokes. And
No,
thank you, ICO.
If there are postgraduates, on Saturday at 11 o'clock, I'm giving a motivational talk. How to be wealthy, famous, and humble.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's great.
So this is for the Khalsa College, where it's all. It's a very old college. I don't know whether you heard of Khalsa College.
Sir, where?
It's a Guru Nanak Khalsa College in Bombay.
Bombay.
It's run by the Punjab Sardarjis only.
Okay, so that's why I from Khalsa, it's all Punjab.
Yeah, all Punjab. That's what. So it's a Khalsa
Yes.
College. It's almost 1937 they started, which is 1 kilometer from my hospital.
Okay, sir.
And they have an excellent hockey ground, and plus they also have a molecular biology lab. analytical chemistry. So I'm giving them the talk. So I'll send you the link to all of you.
Yeah, please, sir. Please, sir. Would like to listen. Yeah.
Yes.
So you are always full of energy and motivation.
Yes.
Yes. That's what the students told me. So I told
Yes.
them I'm 18 and they are 20, 21.
Yes. Stay blessed.
So, Independence Day I spent with them whole day.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Right.